The stars stretched endlessly across the black sky, each one a distant sun with planets that no human had ever seen. Captain Eric Voss leaned against the hull of his small exploration ship, the Intrepid Dawn, and watched them all. The hum of the engines was almost comforting, a steady sound in the infinite silence of space. For Eric, space was both home and challenge, a place where human wit and courage mattered more than brute force. He had been sent to the Zyre system on a mission that many of his colleagues considered reckless. The Council had detected unusual energy readings from a planet called Valara, a world cloaked in shimmering light and strange magnetic storms. The readings were unlike anything human sensors had ever encountered. To Eric, it was an invitation. "Another quiet night in the void," he muttered to himself, adjusting his wrist comm. The screen flickered and displayed the planet below, a swirl of emerald and sapphire clouds, with glittering landmasses that looked like jewelry scattered across a black velvet canvas. He had been here for only 2 days, but already he felt the pull of something greater, something alive beneath the clouds. The landing was smooth, though the magnetic storms made navigation tricky. The Intrepid Dawn descended through the glowing atmosphere, the hull vibrating lightly as the ship adjusted to the planet's strange gravitational fields. Eric had faced dangerous landings before, but nothing like this. The planet seemed to test him, almost aware of his presence. As he stepped onto the surface, Eric's boots sank slightly into the soft, luminous soil. He breathed in the alien air, filtered by his suit, but still carrying scents that made his mind spin. There was a sweetness to it, like flowers. But beneath that, a metallic sharpness that hinted at power. Valara was alive, but not in the way humans thought of life. It was ancient, intelligent, and patient. He had explored countless planets, negotiated with dozens of alien species, and survived encounters that would have broken less adaptable humans. But Valara felt different. It was as if the world itself was watching him, gauging his intentions. His instinct told him he had to be careful, but curiosity burned brighter than caution. The city lay ahead, a place of crystalline towers and bridges that shimmered with light. Humans could barely replicate architecture like this. The towers curved upward in impossible arcs, their surfaces glowing with patterns that shifted and danced. The city was quiet, too quiet. Eric moved closer, scanning for life signs. There were sensors everywhere, though not human-made. Whatever lived here had technology far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. His comm beeped softly. "Cap'n?" a voice said. It was Lieutenant Mara Chen from his ship. Sensors detect something moving near the central tower. Life readings are high, but unusual. Not like anything we've classified. Arik smiled beneath his helmet. "Unusual is my specialty," he said.
"I'll check it out, keep monitoring, and stay on standby."
He stepped forward, each movement cautious but confident. The streets of the city were empty, yet there was no sense of abandonment. Every tower and bridge hummed with energy, almost as if the planet itself was breathing. Then he saw her. She appeared at the top of the central tower, framed by light that seemed to bend around her. Her presence was impossible to ignore. She was tall, elegant, and regal, with skin that shimmered like liquid metal and eyes that glowed faintly like twin stars. Every motion she made was precise and deliberate, a demonstration of power that demanded respect. Eric froze for a moment, not from fear, but from surprise. Few humans had ever met a being like this face to face, and yet the human instinct to understand, to connect, to survive kicked in immediately. The queen of the Xerillians, as he would later learn, regarded him with curious eyes. Her voice came, melodious yet sharp, carrying effortlessly across the open space. "Do you know who I am?" Eric's grin widened beneath his helmet. He could have been careful. He could have bowed or spoken cautiously, but instinct, and perhaps foolish bravery, made him respond with a joke. "The sexiest alien alive," he said. There was a pause. Then laughter, clear and unrestrained, echoed through the city. It was not mocking. It was amused, warm, and full of curiosity. The queen herself smiled, a gesture that seemed almost human in its sincerity. "You are bold, human," she said, descending gracefully from her tower, the light following her like a halo. "Most of your kind would have knelt, or fled, or whispered empty words. You amuse me." Arik shrugged, pretending modesty. "I try my best. Name's Eric Voss, captain of the intrepid Dawn. And if I may be so bold, I find your kingdom impressive." She tilted her head slightly, studying him. "Bold, amusing, and curious, traits that may serve you well or doom you quickly." Arik chuckled. "I like to live on the edge. You'll see. I survive better than most expect." For a moment they simply regarded each other, two intelligent beings from worlds light years apart, weighing the possibilities. Then the queen extended a hand, an invitation. "Come, you may walk with me, if you do not fear the eyes that watch." Arik nodded, cautious but intrigued. The ground beneath their feet glowed softly, illuminating paths and structures that humans could barely comprehend. As they walked, she explained the city in fragments, enough to pique his curiosity without revealing all secrets. "Our people are old?" she said. "Older than your son. We have seen civilizations rise and fall. Your kind, you are new, yet reckless, full of potential and danger." Eric listened intently, noting her words. "New doesn't mean weak. Sometimes it means adaptable. Humans survive because we think differently, act unpredictably." She paused, regarding him with eyes that seemed to see inside him. "Adaptability? Yes. That is why you are here, and why I have not dismissed you as a threat. You may be interesting." The walk ended at a courtyard, where alien statues and floating orbs formed a garden of impossible design. The queen stopped in the center and looked at Eric. "You amuse me, Captain. Tell me, why are you here, really?" Eric took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. "To understand. To explore. To see what humans can learn. And maybe teach. I do not come as a conqueror, but as a witness." The queen studied him silently, her expression unreadable. Finally she said, "Perhaps that is wise. Perhaps not. The universe is full of choices. Some you cannot undo." A sudden tremor shook the ground. Lights flickered along the towers. Arik instinctively dropped into a defensive stance. The queen raised a hand, and the tremor stopped. "Do not fear," she said softly. "This is a test, a small one, to measure your presence." Arik straightened, slightly embarrassed. Tests are fine. I prefer them to ambushes." The queen laughed again, a sound that filled the courtyard like music. "You are fearless or foolish. Perhaps both. I will remember this." Over the next hours, Arik walked the city with her, learning fragments of Xerillian life. He saw floating vehicles powered by thought, buildings that shifted to respond to inhabitants, and gardens where plants glowed with intelligence. Every corner of the city challenged his understanding of physics, biology, and philosophy. Yet, even in this alien world, Eric's human traits made him stand out. He asked questions, made observations, and sometimes jokes. The queen, who had rarely found amusement in centuries, began to enjoy his presence. They reached a high terrace overlooking the city. The light from the alien towers reflected across the horizon, painting the sky in colors Eric could not name. He breathed in deeply, despite the filter in his suit. Humans often think the universe is theirs to claim, the Queen said softly, her gaze on the distant horizon. Your kind is small, fragile, fleeting, yet you move with audacity, like you belong. Eric smiled. Maybe we belong because we try harder than others. Maybe audacity is our strength? She turned to him, eyes sharp now. Serious, strength alone is not enough. The universe can crush you with a single misstep. I know, he said calmly. But humans survive. We find a way. That's our way of fighting back, our way of being alive. For a long moment, silence hung between them, broken only by the soft hum of alien energy. Then the Queen spoke, almost in a whisper. Perhaps that is why I do not strike you down. Perhaps. Curiosity favors you tonight. Arik inclined his head, feeling the weight of her words. This was more than survival. This was trust. Fragile, tenuous, and earned by wit, courage, and instinct. As night fell on Valara, the city shimmered with lights that seemed alive. Eric realized he had entered a world beyond imagination, a world where humans had little claim, but perhaps, with the right combination of bravery and cleverness, could leave a mark. Captain Eric Voss, the Queen said, her voice carrying across the terrace. Tomorrow you will face choices. Choices that will test your mind and your heart. Be ready. The universe is watching. Arik smirked. I was born ready. Besides, I've faced worse than a glowing alien queen with a sense of humor. The Queen tilted her head, amused. You are reckless, bold, dangerous. Interesting. We shall see which of these traits serves you best. As he returned to his ship that night, Arik looked back at the shimmering city, the Queen's figure still visible atop the central tower. He had faced alien worlds, fought off hostile species, and survived encounters humans could not imagine. Yet, something about Valara felt different. It was alive. It was intelligent. And, perhaps most important, it had chosen, for reasons he could not yet understand, to let him live and walk beside the Queen of the Xyrillians. Eric sat in the cockpit, watching the alien city glow beneath him. A thrill of anticipation ran through him. He knew this was only the beginning. The universe was vast, full of danger and wonder, but for the first time in his career, he felt truly alive. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new mysteries, and new tests. But tonight, Captain Eric Voss allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. He had made contact with one of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, had survived the first impression, and had, somehow, amused the Queen herself. And he knew, deep down, that humans, small, fragile, and unpredictable, still had a role to play in a universe that underestimated them at every turn. Because sometimes, surviving wasn't about strength or weapons. Sometimes it was about courage, wit, and the audacity to say the words no one dared speak, the sexiest alien alive. And for reasons he did not yet understand, that one bold statement had opened doors that humans had never seen before. The morning on Valara was unlike any dawn Eric had ever seen. The planet's sky shimmered in layers of color, pale green blending into violet, and a faint golden glow danced along the horizon. It wasn't just light. It was as if the atmosphere itself was alive, bending and pulsing around the rising sun. Eric stepped out of the intrepid dawn, his boots sinking slightly into the glowing soil, and let the alien air fill his lungs. Every breath reminded him that he was far from home, but it also made him feel alive in a way Earth never had. The Queen awaited him at the entrance of the central tower, her form illuminated by the soft glow of the city. She did not speak immediately, simply watching him, her gaze both curious and calculating. For a moment, Eric wondered if she had ever been surprised before in her long life. You are punctual, she said finally, her voice smooth and commanding. Most humans are late, distracted, or afraid. You are neither. Arik grinned. I'm just efficient. And brave, of course. Can't show up late when the most powerful alien in the galaxy is expecting you. The Queen's lips twitched in the beginnings of a smile. Flattery will carry you only so far. Humor and wit may carry you further. Come. Arik followed her inside, passing through corridors that seemed to shift subtly as they walked. The walls themselves glowed faintly, reacting to their presence. He realized quickly that this was not architecture. It was intelligence, a living system that adapted to its occupants. This city? Arik said, trying to sound impressed, but not overly so. It's incredible. I've seen worlds with advanced technology, but nothing like this. How does it work? The city is an extension of our minds, the Queen explained. Every building, every bridge, every light responds to thought, to intention. It is not controlled by hands, but by understanding. Those who cannot comprehend it are overwhelmed. Arik's mind raced. He had encountered alien technology before, but this was different. It was not just tools and machines. It was a living network, a manifestation of an intelligent species' collective mind. He realized that to survive here, he would need more than courage. He would need observation, intuition, and respect for rules he barely understood. Observation is my specialty, he said lightly. I like to think of it as human adaptability. The Queen paused, regarding him. Adaptability is valued among humans, I have been told. We shall see if it serves you here. Their first stop was the Central Court, a vast open space where the Xerillians gathered to conduct business, meet visitors, and perform rituals. The floor was smooth and reflective, like liquid glass with glowing patterns that shifted as people moved. Arik noticed that every alien there, tall, lithe beings with translucent skin and glowing eyes, stared at him with curiosity. Some whispered among themselves, and he sensed a mixture of amusement and caution. You will be tested here, the Queen said, lowering her voice. Not for your life yet, but for understanding, for perception, and for courage. To navigate this world, you must first navigate its people. Arik nodded. Tests, trials, I've handled them before. Humans survive by thinking fast, adapting faster. She raised an eyebrow. Words are easy. Actions, less so. We shall see. A sudden movement caught Arik's eye. A group of Xerillian guards, taller than most humans, approached. Their movements were precise, almost like choreography. One of them spoke in a tone that resonated within the courtyard, not loud, but powerful. You, human. Step forward. Arik's pulse quickened. This was no ordinary greeting. The Queen watched silently as he walked to the center of the courtyard. You are to undergo the trial of insight, the guard explained. It is a measure of intellect, perception, and courage. Failure does not mean death, but it may mean dishonor. And in this world, dishonor is more dangerous than death. Ah. Arik exhaled slowly. Trials were familiar. He had survived alien arenas, political tests, and survival challenges on countless worlds, but something about the Xerillian trial of insight felt different. It was mental, emotional, and deeply tied to their culture. He would have to think as an alien, not just as a human. Proceed, he said, keeping his voice calm. The trial began with a puzzle unlike anything Arik had seen. 3 floating orbs hovered in the air, each one glowing in a different pattern. Symbols, moving and changing, swirled across their surfaces. The task was simple in description. Align the orbs so that their light patterns resonated in harmony. But the solution required intuition, observation, and empathy with the alien mind that created them. Arik studied the orbs, noting subtle shifts in color and rhythm. He noticed how each orb seemed to react to his movements, and even to the emotions he projected. Using a combination of trial and error, logic, and observation, He slowly moved the orbs. One by one, the glowing patterns aligned. The orbs emitted a harmonic sound, a resonance that vibrated through the courtyard. The Xerillians around him remained silent, observing. The Queen's eyes glowed faintly with approval. "You have adapted well," she said, her voice carrying warmth. Few humans could comprehend the trial of insight in a single attempt. "You possess potential?" Eric allowed himself a small smile. "Adaptability and observation, right? That's human survival. We notice, we think, we act." The Queen nodded. "Yes. And yet, potential is only a path. How you walk it defines your destiny." The next part of the trial was more physical. Eric was guided to a chamber where gravity shifted unpredictably, and walls moved in complex patterns. To navigate safely, he would need to adjust his movements constantly, combining human agility with real-time calculation. Alien combat and movement principles were involved, but brute strength would not save him. Eric's first step onto the shifting floor sent a jolt through his body. The floor rotated slightly, walls expanded, and the air pressure changed minutely. He had to trust his instincts and body memory more than any sensors. His hands and feet moved in perfect coordination, adjusting to the alien physics. The trial tested reflexes, focus, and trust in oneself. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. Eric dodged, leapt, and calculated, surviving the shifting chamber through quick thinking and adaptability. When he reached the center, the chamber stabilized, and a soft light bathed the room. He exhaled, sweat dripping despite the controlled atmosphere of his suit. "You have done well," the Queen said, appearing beside him. "Few beings, alien or human, complete both parts of the trial without guidance. You are exceptional." Eric chuckled softly. "Exceptional, huh? I prefer the word lucky, but I'll take it." She tilted her head. "Luck favors preparation and courage. You have both. Remember that, Captain." Humans often underestimate what they can achieve, until they are tested. Eric nodded, feeling the truth in her words. This was more than a trial. It was a lesson. Survival, he realized, was about more than raw strength or technology. It was about observation, intuition, courage, and trust. Over the next several hours, the Queen guided Eric through the city, teaching him about the Xyrillian culture, history, and philosophy. Humans had never encountered a civilization that valued collective intelligence so highly, where technology and consciousness were intertwined. Eric listened, asked questions, and made observations, all while respecting the boundaries of their customs. "You see, Captain," the Queen said as they stood on a terrace overlooking the city, "we value intellect and adaptability. Strength alone is meaningless if it is not paired with understanding. Humans, you are unpredictable, yes, but in ways that can be powerful. I have watched your kind survive impossible odds, and perhaps that is why I find you intriguing." Arik smiled. "Unpredictable, huh? That's human nature. We survive because we improvise, because we do the unexpected." She nodded slowly, her expression thoughtful. "Yes, and that may serve you well here. But beware. Not all who watch you are as forgiving as I am." Her words carried weight. Eric knew that the Queen's favor was precious, but fragile. One misstep could turn curiosity into hostility. He would have to navigate not only the trials but also the subtleties of an alien court where trust was earned carefully. By the afternoon, the Queen introduced Eric to a small group of Xyrillian scholars and strategists. They were tasked with teaching him alien thought patterns, decision-making processes, and tactics. It was a strange experience, learning to think like another species. But Eric embraced it fully. He saw patterns, understood motivations, and applied logic in ways that even the Xyrillians found impressive. "You are quick to learn," one of the scholars said, her voice melodic. "Most humans would falter, yet you adapt, observe, and understand." Arik shrugged modestly. Bottom's dough. I pay attention, I watch, I listen, and I try to think ahead. That's how humans survive. The queen watched silently, her eyes glowing softly. He learns faster than expected, she murmured to herself. Perhaps he is more than just amusing. As the day drew to a close, Arik and the queen returned to the central tower. The city glowed beneath them, alive and vibrant. Arik realized that despite the alien beauty and intelligence, there was a strange comfort in their shared understanding. The silent acknowledgement that humans, while young and fragile, could achieve greatness when curiosity, courage, and intellect combined. Captain Eric Voss, the queen said softly, standing beside him. Tomorrow brings new challenges. You have passed the first trial, but the next will test not only your mind, but your heart. Are you prepared? Eric looked at her, his grin unwavering. Prepared? Maybe not fully. Excited? Absolutely. I've faced worse, learned faster, and survived. This is just another adventure. She tilted her head, a rare expression of amusement and respect. We shall see, human. We shall see. That night, as Arik returned to the intrepid dawn, he reflected on the day's events. He had learned more about the Xerillians in a single day than humans had learned about many alien civilizations in decades, and he had survived trials that tested intellect, reflexes, and courage, all while maintaining his humor and presence of mind. For the first time, he understood that the universe was not just a place of danger. It was a place of opportunity, and humans, despite being young and underestimated, had a role to play in shaping its future. As he gazed out at the shimmering towers of Valara, Arik allowed himself a rare moment of satisfaction. He had made allies, impressed the queen, and survived a world that would have overwhelmed most humans. Tomorrow, he knew, would bring even greater challenges. But for now, he allowed himself to enjoy the feeling of being alive, alert, and capable, qualities that defined humanity itself. And somewhere high above the city, the queen observed him, her thoughts unreadable, yet her interest in this strange, bold human deepening. The dawn on Valara was not peaceful. Instead of the usual shimmering skies and gentle hum of the city, there was tension in the air. Arik could feel it from the moment he stepped onto the terrace of the central tower. The queen stood silently, her eyes scanning the horizon, where faint, jagged shapes moved against the alien landscape. They have come, she said, her voice low but steady. A rival faction from the Aritha cluster. They seek to overthrow my rule and claim our world. Arik's heart beat faster, but not with fear. This was the moment his human training and adaptability mattered most. He had faced hostile environments and deadly opponents before, but nothing like an alien invasion on a world whose rules he barely understood. Yet instinct and confidence guided him. How many? He asked, scanning with his portable sensors.
Thousands, the queen said, but numbers alone will not win this battle.
They are ruthless, clever, and they underestimate humans. Her gaze softened slightly, almost contemplative. Perhaps you can teach them that mistake. Arik smiled. I've been underestimated my entire life. They'll regret it. The city's defense system came alive almost immediately. Energy barriers rose, floating drones hummed and shifted into formation, and the citizens of Valara moved quickly but with purpose, guided by the collective intelligence of their culture. Arik watched, fascinated, as the Xerillians worked together seamlessly. Every movement, every action, was precise and efficient. But even a society as advanced as Valara's could not rely solely on tradition. The enemy was unpredictable. Arik knew that human ingenuity, adaptable, creative, and sometimes reckless, might be the key to survival. He joined the Queen in the command chamber, a room with floating holographic displays and rotating star maps. The walls shifted subtly, projecting the terrain and positions of both the city and the approaching enemy. Arik leaned forward, examining the data. "They have brought siege weapons," he noted. "Machines that can penetrate even your city's outer defenses if used correctly. But they are predictable in their movements. If we can lure them into narrow corridors, trap them, and use their own momentum, we can neutralize their advantage." The Queen studied him carefully. "You propose a tactic humans would use in battle?" "Yes," Arik said confidently. "We improvise, we adapt, we turn the enemy's strength into weakness. It's what humans do best." The Queen nodded slowly, her expression unreadable. "Very well. You will lead a contingent of our forces, not because you are stronger, but because you think differently. Your perspective may tip the balance." Arik felt a surge of pride and responsibility. Leading the Xerillian defense meant more than surviving. It meant proving that humanity could be a force in the galaxy, not just observers or conquerors. He moved quickly to rally the defenders. Human and Xerillian forces had to work together, and he had little time to explain his strategies. He focused on simple instructions that both species could follow. Use narrow streets, avoid predictable patterns, exploit enemy assumptions. Humans were familiar with improvisation. Xerillians were precise. Together, they had the potential to be unstoppable. The first wave of attackers arrived at the outskirts of the city. They were massive armored vehicles with strange energy weapons that fired beams of red light, tearing through the alien soil and creating temporary shock waves. Arik observed calmly, noting their formations. "Predictable," he muttered.
"They always advance in straight lines, rely on brute force. We can use that."
He signaled to a group of Xerillian drones and humans to position themselves along a curved canyon near the city's edge. The attackers, confident in their superiority, advanced without caution. As they entered the canyon, Arik's forces activated energy traps, closing paths and creating illusions of open terrain. The enemy machines were funneled into a narrow corridor where their numbers became a disadvantage rather than an advantage. Explosions lit the canyon as the enemy tried to escape. Arik's combination of observation, timing, and human creativity allowed his forces to neutralize a significant portion of the invaders without major losses. The Queen watched from the command chamber, her glowing eyes revealing both surprise and respect. "You learn quickly," she said, "perhaps too quickly." Arik smirked. "I've been underestimated before."
I like proving people wrong. The battle intensified as reinforcements arrived for the enemy.
They began targeting the city directly, bypassing the traps and aiming for the central towers. The Queen's personal guard moved to defend the structures, but Arik realized that relying solely on defense would eventually fail. A counterattack was necessary, something that combined human unpredictability with Xerillian precision. He proposed a daring plan. Use a small, specialized strike team to infiltrate the enemy's command ships and disrupt their coordination. The Xerillians were skeptical at first, but Arik's reasoning was sound. They rely on technology that they cannot adapt quickly without leadership. We take out their command nodes, and the rest will collapse. The Queen agreed, granting him authority over the mission. Arik selected a team of elite Xerillian warriors and a few humans trained in alien systems. They moved under cover of shifting energy shadows, navigating narrow canyons and floating bridges. Arik's knowledge of improvisation allowed them to avoid patrols and traps that would have stopped others. Inside the enemy's main ship, they encountered resistance unlike anything Arik had faced before. The corridors were filled with alien soldiers, machines, and automated defense systems. Every step required careful timing, observation, and quick thinking. Arik led from the front, improvising solutions on the spot, using energy shields from fallen drones, manipulating enemy systems, and even creating distractions by overloading their sensors with false signals. The Queen's voice came through a communicator.
Captain Voss, be careful. These enemies are ruthless.
I know, he replied, but we're humans.
We survive because we think differently. Watch and learn. They reached the central command node, a glowing core surrounded by alien circuitry and pulsing energy. Eric studied it for a moment, understanding its function.
We disable this, and their coordination fails, he said. Simple, in theory.
Complicated in practice. With precision, he directed the team to overload the node, using a combination of human logic and Xerillian technology. Sparks flew, the core pulsed violently, and alarms blared throughout the ship. The enemy forces were thrown into chaos, their machines acting without guidance, colliding and self-destructing. Outside, the battle shifted dramatically. The Xerials and humans on the streets took advantage of the confusion, striking with precision and driving the remaining attackers back. Eric watched the battlefield through a holographic display, satisfaction mingling with exhaustion. His strategy had worked, but he knew the fight was not over. As the last of the enemy forces retreated, the city breathed a collective sigh of relief. Structures were damaged, some towers flickered with energy failures, but the heart of Valara remained intact. The Queen walked among her people, assessing the aftermath. When she approached Eric, her expression was a mixture of gratitude and contemplation. "You have done more than survive," she said. "You have turned the tide of battle. Humans, you may be unpredictable, but you are capable in ways few understand." Eric shrugged modestly. "We survive because we adapt, because we improvise, because we don't follow rules blindly. That's humanity's way." The Queen nodded. "It is a rare gift. And yet, bravery alone does not secure lasting peace. You have earned trust, but you must also understand responsibility." Eric's smile softened. "I get it. I'm not just here for adventure. I'm here to prove that humans belong in the galaxy, whether the universe likes it or not." The Queen studied him silently. "Perhaps that is why I have allowed you to walk beside me. Few humans could have achieved what you have today. You are more than amusing. You are remarkable." Auric felt a rare surge of pride, tempered by humility. He had faced danger, led a coalition of alien and human forces, and succeeded where many would have failed. And yet, he knew that the universe had far greater challenges ahead. This battle was only the beginning. That evening, the Queen invited Eric to the Central Tower's terrace. The city lay quiet beneath them, glowing softly in the aftermath of conflict. Eric could see the damage, the flickering lights, and the distant smoke from the retreating enemy. "Captain Voss," the Queen said, her voice thoughtful, "you have proven human ingenuity can be a force in our world, but the Orithar cluster will not forget this defeat."
They will return, and when they do, the stakes will be higher.
Auric nodded. "I've faced worse, and I've learned that humans survive not because we are the strongest, but because we think differently. That's the advantage." "That's our strength." The Queen's gaze softened, almost imperceptibly. "And yet, you are reckless, bold. Bold, perhaps foolish, and perhaps necessary. I wonder, Captain, what else your kind can achieve." Eric smiled, looking out at the horizon. "We're full of surprises. You'll see." As night fell over Valara, the city shimmered, alive and resilient. The people had survived, guided by the wisdom of their queen and the ingenuity of one human who had dared to step into a world far beyond his own. Eric returned to the intrepid dawn, his mind alive with strategies, observations, and reflections. He had proven that humans could make a difference, that wit, courage, and adaptability could triumph even against overwhelming odds, and he knew that tomorrow would bring new challenges. Greater tests that would demand not only survival, but leadership, trust, and perhaps even sacrifice. For the first time, Eric felt the weight of responsibility, the kind that came with not only fighting for himself, but for an entire civilization. But he also felt something else, a quiet confidence. Humans had a place in this galaxy. They could adapt, improvise, and inspire change. And sometimes that was more powerful than any weapon. The Queen observed him from her tower, her thoughts unreadable, her interest deepening. This human, unpredictable and audacious, had earned her respect. And perhaps in ways she could not yet fully understand, he had earned her trust. The stars above Valara pulsed with light, silent witnesses to the unfolding story. Eric Voss, human among aliens, had survived another day, and had begun to show that humanity, with its courage, creativity, and audacity, could leave an indelible mark on the galaxy. Tomorrow the war would continue. But tonight, they had survived, and sometimes survival was the first step toward greatness.